The crystal chandelier above table 7 cast fractured rainbows across the white linen tablecloth, but Maya Richardson's hands still trembled as she smoothed down her crisp black server's apron for the third time in as many minutes. The Gilded Lotus wasn't just any restaurant. It was the restaurant in Los Angeles, where tech moguls rubbed elbows with film producers and where one mistake could end a server's career before it truly began. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, her reflection staring back from the polished silver service station. Her dark brown skin glowed under the ambient lighting, and she'd twisted her natural hair into an elegant bun that made her look more confident than she felt. It was her first night on the floor after 2 weeks of training, and her stomach churned with a cocktail of excitement and pure terror. Maya, Jean Sue, the floor manager, materialized beside her like a well-dressed ghost. His usually calm demeanor had fractured into something urgent, almost panicked. "We have a situation." Her heart plummeted. "Did I do something wrong? I haven't even taken my first table yet."
No.
He gripped her shoulders, his eyes darting toward the private dining room at the restaurant's far end, the one with the ornate Korean screens and the door that remained closed for all but the most exclusive guests. Table 1 just arrived. Early. The owner specifically requested our best server, but Christina called in sick, and he paused, seeming to recalculate his words. "You're going to serve them." "Me?" Maya's voice cracked. "Jean Sue, I've never even served a regular table here yet." "Who?" "The Kong family," he said quietly, and the name landed like a stone in still water. Everyone in Los Angeles's Korean community knew the Kong name. Everyone whispered it with a mixture of reverence and fear. Officially, they owned a chain of import-export businesses and luxury hotels. Unofficially, well, the unofficial part was why people whispered. "But I don't know the protocols for." "You'll be fine." Jean Sue pressed a leather-bound menu into her hands. "Just be polite, take their orders, and for God's sake, don't stare at the younger Mr. Kong." Women tend to forget how to function around him. He managed a weak smile. "Standard service, Maya. You know this. Show me what you learned." Before she could protest further, he'd guided her toward the private room, where 2 servers stood flanking the door like sentries. They pulled it open in perfect synchronization, and Maya stepped into a different world. The room was breathtaking, all dark wood and subtle gold accents, with traditional Korean artwork adorning the walls. But Maya barely noticed the decor. Her attention locked onto the 6 people seated around the circular table, each one radiating an unmistakable aura of power. At the head sat an elderly man, perhaps in his 70s, with silver hair swept back from a face that might have been carved from stone. His eyes were sharp, missing nothing. To his right sat a woman of similar age, elegant in a deep burgundy hanbok, her posture regal. And around them, for younger people, 3 men and 1 woman, all dressed in expensive suits and designer dresses that probably cost more than Maya's car. But it was the man seated directly to the elderly gentleman's left who made Maya's breath catch. He couldn't have been more than 30, with sharp cheekbones and dark eyes that held a dangerous intelligence. His charcoal suit was perfectly tailored, and when his gaze flicked to her, she understood why Jean Sue had warned her about staring. This had to be the younger Mr. Kong. The heir. The one the Korean grocery store Ajummas gossiped about in hushed tones. "Good evening," Maya said, her voice steadier than she expected. She bowed, a proper Korean bow, though not too deep, just as her Korean tutor had taught her during those late-night sessions over the past 2 years. "Welcome to the Gilded Lotus." The elderly man's eyebrows rose fractionally. Around the table, the conversation that had been flowing in rapid Korean suddenly stopped. Maya's mind raced. This was the moment. She could play it safe, stick to English, take their drink orders like any other server would. Or, she thought of her Halmiani, her grandmother, not by blood but by choice. Mrs. Park, the elderly Korean woman who'd lived next door to Maya's family in Atlanta for 15 years. The woman who'd taught a curious black girl how to make kimchi, who'd patiently corrected her pronunciation, who'd shared stories of her childhood in Gyeongsang province and taught Maya the dialect that was slowly disappearing even in Korea. Maya took a breath and let the words flow in Gyeongsang Satyuri, the distinctive regional dialect of southeastern Korea, with its sharp intonations and particular vocabulary that differed markedly from standard Seoul Korean. 어르신네, 어서 오이소. 오늘 저녁 제가 시중 들궜습니다. 편히 드시소. Esteemed elders, please come in and be welcome. This evening, I will serve you. Please eat comfortably. The silence that followed was absolute. The elegant woman's hand froze halfway to her water glass. One of the younger men's eyes widened so dramatically that it might have been comical in any other situation. The dangerous-looking heir's expression shifted from polite indifference to genuine shock. But it was the elderly man's reaction that mattered most. His stone-carved face cracked into an expression of utter astonishment, and then, impossibly, his eyes began to glisten with tears. 당신, he began, his voice rough with emotion. 어디서 그 사투리를 배웠습니까? You, where did you learn that dialect? Maya's heart hammered against her ribs, but she kept her composure, meeting the elderly man's gaze with respectful warmth. She responded in the same Gyeongsang dialect, her voice soft but clear. 제 할매가 가르쳐 주셨습니다. 박순자 할매. 경상도 부산 출신이셨습니다. My grandmother taught me. Grandmother Park Sunja. She was from Busan in Gyeongsang province. The elderly man stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Everyone at the table tensed. The younger Mr. Kang's hand moved almost imperceptibly toward his jacket, a protective instinct Maya did miss. But the old man simply walked toward her, his eyes searching her face, as if looking for something he'd lost long ago. Sunja. He repeated, the name a whisper. There were many Park Sunjaes in Busan. What was her maiden name? Her family name before marriage. Kim, sir. Kim Sunja from the Gimhee Kim clan. She immigrated to America in 1973, settled in Atlanta. Maya felt the weight of memory pressing against her chest. She passed away 6 months ago. Pancreatic cancer. The old man's hand reached out, trembling slightly, and he gently touched Maya's shoulder. Child, I am Kang Dae-young, originally from Busan. And this, he gestured to the woman in burgundy who had risen from her seat, is my wife, Kang Mi-seo. She is also from Busan, from the Gimhee Kim clan. Mi-seo approached, her elegant face soft with emotion. She took Maya's hands in hers, examining her face with a grandmother's scrutiny. Your Halmini taught you well. Your accent, it's perfect. Not the sanitized Seoul Korean they teach in schools, but real Gyeongsang Satyuri, the kind we spoke as children. Her voice caught. The kind we rarely hear anymore, even from our own children. Maya felt tears pricking her own eyes. She made me practice every day. She said the dialect was dying, that even in Korea, young people only spoke Seoul Standard. She wanted someone to remember how her mother talked, how her grandmother talked. Wise woman, Dae-young said, his voice thick. He gestured to the table. Please, introduce yourself to everyone properly. You've already shocked us beyond measure. Let us know who you are. Maya bowed again, this time addressing the entire table. My name is Maya Richardson. I'm 26 years old, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I moved to Los Angeles 3 months ago to attend graduate school at University of California, Los Angeles. I'm studying linguistics and cultural preservation. Mrs. Park was my neighbor for 15 years. She had no family in America, and my mother told her that loneliness knows no color. So Halmini adopted us, in a way. And I adopted her. The dangerous-looking young man, the heir, stood and approached. Up close, he was even more striking, with an intensity that made Maya's pulse quicken for entirely different reasons than fear. I'm Kang Tae-hyun, he said in English, his voice a smooth baritone with barely a trace of accent. The disappointing son who speaks Korean like a textbook, according to my father. A slight smile played at his lips. Welcome to the Gilded Lotus, Maya Richardson. You've just accomplished something I haven't managed in 32 years. You made my father cry. Happy tears, I hope. Maya ventured. The best kind. confirmed the elegant woman at the table, who now stood as well. She was perhaps in her late 20s, beautiful in a sharp, intimidating way. I'm Kang Soo-jin, the daughter, who speaks like a soul princess, also according to father. And these, she gestured to the two remaining men, are my brothers Kang Min-ho and Kang Ji-woo. Min-ho, stocky and warm-faced, grinned broadly. I speak Korean like a drunk businessman, apparently, so you're already leagues ahead of me. That was incredible. Ji-woo, slender and quiet, simply nodded with respect. Dae-young cleared his throat, composing himself. Maya, the casual, affectionate suffix made her name sound like family. You came here to serve us dinner, but you've given us something far more precious. You've given us the sound of home. Please, he gestured to an empty chair. Sit with us. Eat with us. Tell us about your Halmiani. Sir, I can't. I'm working and my manager. Tae-hyun pulled out his phone, typed something rapidly, and within 30 seconds, Jin-soo appeared at the door, looking nervous. Yes, Mr. Kang? Maya will be dining with us this evening as our personal guest, Tae-hyun said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Please send in your best server to attend to us, and ensure Maya's shift is covered. She'll be compensated for her full evening, plus. He paused, glancing at his father, who nodded. A bonus equivalent to a week's wages. Jin-soo's eyes widened, but he simply bowed. Of course, Mr. Kang. Right away. As Jin-soo disappeared, Maya found herself guided to a seat between Min-seo and Soo-jin, with Tae-hyun directly across from her. His eyes held hers for a moment, and she saw something unexpected there. Not just curiosity, but a deep, genuine interest that made her skin warm. So, Maya Richardson, Tae-hyun said, leaning forward slightly. Tell us everything. How does a black girl from Atlanta become fluent in a dying Korean dialect? I suspect this is a story worth hearing. Min-seo patted her hand encouragingly. And don't leave anything out. We have all night and, she smiled warmly, we haven't felt this close to home in years. Maya took a breath, feeling the weight of 6 pairs of eyes on her, and began to speak. She told them about the day she was 7 years old, when she'd knocked on Mrs. Park's door to return a misdelivered package. How the elderly woman had been crying, holding a photograph of a daughter in Korea who never called. How Maya's mother had invited her to dinner that night, and how that dinner had become a weekly tradition that lasted over a decade. She told them about learning to make kimchi in Mrs. Park's tiny kitchen, about the Korean dramas they'd watched together, about the language lessons that started casually and became serious when Mrs. Park realized Maya had a gift for languages. She told me I had a Korean soul in a beautiful black body, Maya said softly. She said the ancestors don't care about skin color. They only care about who remembers them, who honors them, who keeps their words alive. Dae-young wiped his eyes openly now, unashamed. Your Halmiani was a wise woman, and she chose her student well. As servers brought out course after course of exquisite Korean cuisine, Maya felt something shifting in the room, walls coming down, connections forming. She caught Tae-hyun watching her several times, his expression thoughtful, almost wondering. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that this dinner would change everything. That the Kang family guarded secrets darker and more complex than she could imagine. And that her connection to them, forged through love for an elderly woman and a dying dialect, would soon pull her into a world where loyalty was currency and danger wore expensive suits. But for now, in this moment, there was only warmth, food, and the sound of Jeongsang's satyuri filling the room like a bridge across oceans and generations. The dinner stretched into hours, plates emptied and refilled, laughter echoing off the private room's walls. Maya found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't expected, the Kang family's warmth dissolving her nervousness, like sugar in hot tea. Dae-young shared stories of his childhood in Busan, while Min-seo taught Maya traditional drinking toasts that made everyone laugh when she executed them perfectly. But it was Tae-hyun who captivated her attention, though she tried not to make it obvious. He was different from his siblings, quieter, more observant. While Minho joked loudly and Sujin commanded attention with sharp wit, Taehyun listened. And when he spoke, everyone leaned in. There was something magnetic about him, something that went beyond his striking features. Intelligence burned behind those dark eyes, along with something else Maya couldn't quite name. Loneliness, perhaps. Or burden. Maya, Taehyun said as dessert arrived, a beautiful arrangement of Korean rice cakes and fresh fruit. You mentioned you're studying cultural preservation at University of California, Los Angeles. What's your thesis focus? Linguistic memory in immigrant communities, she replied, accepting a small plate. Specifically, how language preserves cultural identity across generations and what's lost when dialects disappear. I'm arguing that when we lose regional dialects, we don't just lose words. We lose entire ways of thinking, cultural values embedded in speech patterns, historical memory. His eyes lit up with genuine interest. So, your Halmione wasn't just teaching you Korean. She was preserving an entire worldview. Exactly. Maya leaned forward, animated now. The Gyeongsang dialect has grammatical structures that emphasize community responsibility differently than Seoul Korean. The way you conjugate verbs, the honorifics you choose, it all reflects a specific cultural philosophy about hierarchy, respect, and collective identity. Fascinating, Minhyo interjected. And you chose to study this because of Sunja? Yes. When she got sick, she made me promise to finish what we'd started. She said, Maya's voice caught slightly. She said I was her legacy now, that I'd carry her voice forward when she was gone. The table fell silent for a moment, the weight of that promise hanging in the air. Then Dae-young spoke, his voice serious. Maya, I would like to make you an offer. Taehyun's head snapped toward his father, surprise flickering across his features. Sujin and Minho exchanged glances. Something unspoken passed between the family members, a current of tension that hadn't been there moments before. Abioji, Taehyun began, but Dae-young raised a hand. We have a family estate in Palos Verdes, the old man continued. A traditional Korean house that I built 30 years ago when I first found success in America. For the past 5 years, I've been trying to create something there, a cultural center, a place where Korean heritage can be preserved and taught. But every curator I hire, every director I bring in, he shook his head. They know Seoul Korean. They know modern Korea. But they don't know our Korea. The Korea we left behind. Father, we've discussed this. Sujin started, her tone careful. I know what we discussed, Dae-young said firmly. But tonight changes things. Maya, he turned back to her, I want to hire you as a cultural consultant. Part-time, flexible around your graduate studies. You would help us develop programming, ensure authenticity in our dialect preservation efforts, perhaps even teach classes. The pay would be generous, very generous. Maya's mind raced. This was an incredible opportunity, the kind that could transform her academic career. Access to resources, funding, real-world application of her research. But something in Taehyun's expression gave her pause. He was watching his father with barely concealed concern, his jaw tight. That's an incredibly generous offer, Mr. Kong, Maya said carefully. But I'm curious, why now? Why me? Surely there are more qualified. Because you loved someone enough to learn her dying dialect, Minhyo said softly. Because you understand that language is memory, and memory is sacred. And because, she glanced at her husband, we need someone who comes to this work with pure intentions. Mother means, Taehyun interjected, his voice measured, that our family's projects sometimes attract people interested in our connections rather than the work itself. You came here to serve dinner, not to network or curry favor. That matters. I see. Maya processed this, aware of the subtext she didn't fully understand. May I think about it? This is unexpected, and I want to ensure I could commit the time and attention it deserves. Of course, Dae-young said, smiling. Take a week. Taehyun will give you his personal contact information. Call him when you've decided. Me? Taehyun's eyebrows rose. Wouldn't Sujin be better? You're overseeing the Cultural Center project, Dae-young said, his tone brooking no argument. It makes sense for Maya to coordinate with you directly. Sujin smiled knowingly, while Minho coughed to cover a laugh. Taehyun's neck flushed slightly, but he maintained his composure. Of course, Sabioji. He pulled out a business card, heavy cardstock with elegant lettering, and wrote a number on the back. My private cell. Call anytime. Their fingers brushed as Maya accepted the card, and the contact sent an unexpected jolt through her. Taehyun's eyes met hers, and for a heartbeat, the busy room seemed to fade away. Thank you, she managed. For everything. This evening has been unexpected. Taehyun supplied, a slight smile playing at his lips. Extraordinary, Maya corrected. As the evening wound down and Maya prepared to leave, Minacio embraced her warmly. You've given an old woman a precious gift tonight, she whispered. The sound of home. Whatever you decide about my husband's offer, know that you're welcome in our family anytime. Dae-young pressed an envelope into her hands, the promised compensation, Maya assumed, and squeezed her shoulder. Your Halmione raised you well, even if she wasn't your Halmione by blood. Blood is just biology. Love is what makes family. Outside the private room, Jin-soo waited, looking both relieved and bewildered. Maya, what just happened? Mr. Kang's assistant called to inform me you're being given a full week's bonus and 3 days of paid leave. In 10 years of working here, I've never seen anything like. I'm not entirely sure myself, Maya admitted, clutching the envelope and business card. But I think my life just changed. She had no idea how right she was. Because as she left the Gilded Lotus that night, walking to her beat-up Honda in the parking structure, she didn't notice the black Mercedes sedan that had been waiting across the street. Didn't see the man inside raise a camera and take photos of her. Didn't know that her name was already being entered into databases, her background being researched, her connection to the Kong family being analyzed by people who lived in the shadows. The Kong family had enemies, powerful ones who watched their every move, looking for weaknesses to exploit. And Maya Richardson, with her kind heart and perfect Gyeongsang Satyuri, had just become very, very interesting to some very dangerous people. 3 days later, Maya stood in front of her bathroom mirror, trying to decide if the navy blazer was too formal or not formal enough. She'd called Taehyun yesterday, accepting the cultural consultant position, and he'd invited her to visit the estate today to discuss the project details. It's just a business meeting, she told her reflection, ignoring the flutter in her stomach that had nothing to do with the job opportunity. Her phone buzzed. I'm outside.
Norus. Taehyun.
Maya grabbed her bag and hurried down from her tiny studio apartment in Koreatown. The building was nothing special, peeling paint, questionable plumbing, but it was affordable and close to campus. She'd expected to find Taehyun in something flashy, maybe a sports car that cost more than her education. Instead, he stood beside an understated black Tesla, dressed casually in dark jeans and a gray Henley that somehow made him look more intimidating than his expensive suits had. His hair was slightly tousled, and without the formal armor of business attire, he seemed younger, more approachable, more dangerous to her equilibrium. Good morning, he said, opening the passenger door. I hope you don't mind. I thought driving together would give us time to talk about the project. That's fine, Maya said, sliding into the car. The interior smelled like leather and subtle cologne. Thank you for picking me up. As they merged onto the highway heading toward Palos Verdes, Taehyun glanced over at her. I should be thanking you. My father hasn't been this energized about the cultural center in months. You gave him hope that the project might actually fulfill its purpose. Which is preservation, like he said. But also, Taehyun paused, choosing his words carefully. Redemption, perhaps. My father built his business empire through some morally complicated means. As he's gotten older, he's become increasingly focused on legacy, not the money or power, but what he'll leave behind culturally. He wants to give back to the community in meaningful ways. Maya processed this carefully phrased statement. Morally complicated means. That was one way to describe it. And your role in all this? I'm the heir apparent, Taehyun said, his tone neutral. which means I spend my days managing everything from legitimate hotel operations to ensuring our family's interests are protected. The cultural center is the one project that's purely mine. No shadowy business entanglements, no ethical compromises. Just culture and preservation. That must be refreshing, Maya ventured. It's necessary, he corrected quietly. When you live in shades of gray, you need something that's purely light. Otherwise, you forget what light looks like. The vulnerability in his voice surprised her. Maya studied his profile, the strong jaw, the slight furrow between his brows, the way his hands gripped the steering wheel just a bit too tightly. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Always. That first night, when your father offered me the position, you looked concerned. Why?" Taehyun was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was measured. "Because my father has excellent instincts about people, but sometimes his enthusiasm overrides his caution. Our family, we're not always safe people to be associated with, Maya. There are complications that come with working for us." "You mean because of your family's business reputation?" "That's part of it." He exited the highway, turning onto roads that wound through increasingly affluent neighborhoods. "But there's also the fact that my father likes you. Really likes you. And when my father gets attached to someone, he tends to pull them into the family orbit completely. It can be overwhelming." "And you're warning me?" "I'm being honest with you. There's a difference." He glanced at her, his expression serious. "You seem like someone who values truth, so here it is. Working with us will change your life. Some of that change will be positive, resources, opportunities, connections. But some of it will be complicated. People will make assumptions about you. They'll wonder what you're really doing with our family. And if you get too close." He trailed off. "If I get too close, what?" "Then you become someone worth watching, worth investigating, worth using as leverage." A chill ran down Maya's spine. "Are you trying to scare me away?" "No," Taehyun said firmly. "I'm trying to ensure you make an informed decision. My father already hired you, and I'm genuinely excited about working with you on this project. But I need you to understand what you're walking into." Maya sat back, processing this. They were climbing now, the houses growing larger and more secluded, each one a fortress of wealth and privacy. "I appreciate your honesty, but I've already made my decision. I promised my Helmione I'd preserve what she taught me. This project is exactly how I can honor that promise." Something shifted in Taehyun's expression, respect, perhaps, mixed with concern. "You're braver than you look, Maya Richardson." "I'm from Atlanta," she said with a slight smile. "We're born brave." He laughed, a genuine, warm sound that transformed his entire face. "I believe it." The Tesla turned onto a private road marked only by a discreet sign in Korean characters. They drove through a tunnel of eucalyptus trees, and then the estate revealed itself. Maya's breath caught. The main house was a stunning fusion of traditional Korean architecture and modern design. Sweeping tile roofs with upturned eaves, massive wooden beams, expansive windows that captured the ocean view. Gardens surrounded the structure, meticulously landscaped with stone paths, traditional pavilions, and what looked like a small temple in the distance. "This is incredible," Maya whispered. "Wait until you see the cultural center building," Taehyun said, parking near the main house. "My father spared no expense." As they walked toward the entrance, the main door opened. Soojin emerged, dressed in elegant business casual, her expression friendly but assessing. "Maya, welcome. Father's been pacing all morning waiting for you to arrive." "I hope we're not late." "No, he's just excited." Soojin linked arms with Maya, guiding her inside. "Fair warning, he's invited the entire family for lunch. He wants everyone to hear your ideas for the center." Maya glanced back at Taehyun, who shrugged apologetically. "Told you. When father likes someone, he pulls them in completely." Inside, the house was even more breathtaking. Soaring ceilings, traditional Korean furniture mixed with contemporary pieces, art that Maya recognized as museum quality. But it was the people gathered in the main room that made her pause. Dae-young and Min Seo stood near the windows, but there were others now. Serious-looking men in dark suits positioned at various points throughout the house, watching everything with professional vigilance. Security, Maya realized. Or something more. And standing slightly apart from the family group was a man Maya didn't recognize. Older, perhaps in his 50s, with cold eyes and a posture that screamed authority. He was studying her with undisguised curiosity, and something about his gaze made her skin prickle. Tae-hyun tensed beside her, his body language subtly shifting into something protective. "Who's that?" Maya whispered. "Trouble," Tae-hyun murmured back. "That's Park Jin-woo, my father's oldest associate and the family's chief advisor. And judging by the look on his face, he's got questions about you." Park Jin-woo approached with the measured stride of a man accustomed to commanding rooms. His expensive suit was perfectly tailored, his silver hair swept back, and his eyes, sharp as surgical blades, never left Maya's face. "So this is the young woman who's captured Dae-young's attention," he said in Korean, his accent pure soul, formal and clipped. "The server who speaks our dying dialects." Maya bowed respectfully, responding in equally formal Seoul Korean. "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Park. I'm Maya Richardson." His eyebrows rose fractionally. "Adaptable. You switch registers easily." He circled her slowly, appraising. "Tell me, Miss Richardson, what does a linguistic student from America really want with our family?" "Jin-woo." Dae-young's voice cut across the room like a whip. "Enough. I'm simply being thorough, old friend." Park's smile didn't reach his eyes. "We've had opportunists before. People who see our family as a stepping stone to wealth or connections. Surely you remember the last cultural consultant you hired, the one who tried to sell information about our private art collection to competitors." Tae-hyun stepped closer to Maya, his presence a subtle shield. Maya's background has been thoroughly vetted. She's exactly who she appears to be. "Is she?" Park pulled out his phone, tapping the screen. "Because my research team found some interesting information. Maya Richardson, born in Atlanta to Sharon Richardson, a public school teacher, and Marcus Richardson, deceased when Maya was 12. Scholarship student at Emory University, graduated summa cum laude. Currently attending University of California, Los Angeles on a partial scholarship, working 3 jobs to cover expenses." He looked up. "You're quite accomplished, but also quite desperate for money, aren't you?" Maya felt her cheeks burn. "I work hard for what I have. There's no shame in that." "No shame at all," Park agreed smoothly. "But it does make you vulnerable to opportunities. Tell me, how much is Dae-young paying you for this consultant position?" 50,000? 100,000. That's enough. Min Seo's voice rang out, sharp with authority. She moved to Maya's side, her elegant face hard with anger. "You will not interrogate our guest in her own welcoming lunch. Maya is here because she possesses knowledge and skills we value. Her financial situation is irrelevant." "Is it?" Park turned to Dae-young. "You're too trusting, old friend. Always have been. This girl appears out of nowhere, speaks a dialect that pulls at your heartstrings, and suddenly she's family? Within days of meeting her, you're giving her access to our estate, our projects, our what, Jin-woo?" Tae-hyun's voice was dangerously quiet. "What exactly are you worried she'll discover?" The room went silent. Maya felt currents of tension she didn't understand, saw glances exchanged between family members that spoke of secrets and calculations. Park's expression shifted, became calculating. "I'm worried about all of you. The Cultural Center project has already attracted unwanted attention. Adding an outsider to the mix, especially now, is..." "What kind of attention?" Maya heard herself ask. All eyes turned to her. "Mr. Park, you keep implying there's something I should know. Some danger I'm walking into. If that's true, don't I deserve to understand what I'm getting involved with?" Dae-young sighed heavily, suddenly looking every one of his 70-plus years. She's right. If Maya is going to work with us, she should know the truth. He gestured to the seating area. Everyone sit. It's time for honesty. They gathered, Maya between Taehyun and Soojin on a long sofa, the elder Kangs in armchairs, Minho and Jiwoo flanking their parents. Park remained standing, arms crossed, watchful. Maya, Daeyoung began, switching to Gyeongsang dialect, a gesture of intimacy that wasn't lost on anyone. You know our family has a complicated reputation.
What you don't know is why.
I'm going to tell you a story, and when I'm done, you can decide if you still want to work with us. He leaned forward, hands clasped. 50 years ago, I came to America with nothing. I worked in restaurants, construction, any job I could find. But America in the 1970s was not kind to Korean immigrants. We were othered, discriminated against, shut out of legitimate business opportunities. So we created our own opportunities within the Korean community. I started as a mediator, helping resolve disputes, offering protection to Korean business owners being extorted by local gangs. Minho took his hand, continuing the story. What started as community protection evolved into something more organized. Daeyoung became powerful within the Korean community, respected and feared. He ensured that Korean businesses could operate safely, that our people had resources and support. But that kind of power, it requires maintaining certain relationships, making certain compromises. Mother means we're connected to organized crime, Soojin said bluntly. Not in the flashy, violent way movies portray, but in the structural way that many immigrant communities operate. Protection, mediation, informal banking, dispute resolution, all the services that exist outside official channels. Maya's mind raced. This explained the security, the careful vetting, Park's paranoia. And the cultural center is completely legitimate, Taehyun said firmly. It's funded through our legal hotel business, with transparent accounting. But our family's reputation means that even legitimate projects attract scrutiny. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has been investigating our business operations for 3 years. They haven't found anything prosecutable, but they're watching. Always watching. And recently, Park interjected, his voice grim, we've learned that a rival organization, the Hwang Group, is also taking interest in our activities. They've been trying to undermine our community influence for years. They're looking for weaknesses, pressure points, ways to damage our reputation or turn our allies against us. Which brings us to you, Daeyoung said gently. Maya, you appeared in our lives at a vulnerable time. Park is concerned that your arrival might not be coincidental. That perhaps someone sent you to infiltrate our family, gather information, create a scandal. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Maya felt her heart pounding, anger and hurt warring in her chest. That's ridiculous, she said, her voice shaking. I'm a graduate student who happened to get hired at the restaurant where you eat. I spoke dialect because my neighbor, a woman I loved like family, taught me. There's no conspiracy. There's no hidden agenda. There's just me, trying to honor a promise I made to a dying woman. Taehyun turned to his father. I believe her. As do I, Minho said firmly. I watched her face that first night. That emotion was real. Park shook his head. Belief isn't enough. We need certainty. Then how do we get certainty? Maya demanded, standing abruptly. What do you need from me? A polygraph? Background check? Access to my entire life? Fine. Do whatever you need to do. But don't insult me by suggesting I'm some kind of spy when all I've done is be myself. Daeyoung stood as well, approaching Maya. He placed his hands on her shoulders, looking directly into her eyes. Child, I don't believe you're a spy. But Park is right to be cautious. Our family has been burned before. So I'm going to ask you something, and I need complete honesty.
Can you do that?
Maya nodded, tears threatening. Is there anyone in your life who encouraged you to take the job at the Gilded Lotus? Anyone who seemed unusually interested in your work there? Anyone who's asked questions about our family? Maya thought back over the past months, her move to Los Angeles, her job applications, her first weeks at the restaurant. And then she remembered. Her stomach dropped. There was someone, she said slowly. A man at a coffee shop near campus. About 3 weeks ago. He struck up a conversation, seemed friendly. He asked what I did, and I mentioned I was working at the Gilded Lotus while finishing my degree. He seemed really interested, asked lots of questions about the restaurant, the clientele, whether I'd met anyone interesting. Taehyun was on his feet instantly. What did he look like? Korean, maybe late 30s, expensive watch, professional. He said his name was David Kim, that he was in real estate. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Oh God, was he? David Kim is the alias used by Hwang Min-sik, Park said grimly. The Hwang Group's information gatherer. He's been fishing for intel on our family for months. The room erupted, family members talking over each other, Park barking orders into his phone, security personnel appearing from various doorways. Maya stood frozen, her mind reeling. She'd been targeted, assessed, potentially manipulated. And now she'd walked straight into the Kong family orbit, possibly bringing danger with her. Taehyun gripped her shoulders gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. Maya, listen to me. This isn't your fault. They would have found some way to get close to us regardless. But we need to know, did you tell this man anything else? Did he ask you to do anything? No, Maya's voice broke. I just talked about my research, my classes. I didn't think. I thought he was just being friendly. The next 72 hours blurred into a nightmare Maya couldn't wake from. After the revelation about David Kim, or rather, Hwang Min-sik, the Kong family had insisted she stay at the estate for her safety. What they meant, Maya understood, was that they needed to watch her, to ensure she truly was an innocent cod in their world, not a willing participant in whatever game the Hwang Group was playing. She'd been given a beautiful guest room with ocean views, provided with anything she needed, treated with careful courtesy by the family. But the armed security outside her door wasn't there for her protection alone. They were there to keep her contained. On the third morning, Maya stood at her window watching the sunrise paint the Pacific in shades of gold and pink, feeling more trapped than she'd ever felt in her life. Her phone had been temporarily confiscated for security reasons. Her classes were being missed. Her entire life had been put on pause because she'd made the mistake of being kind, of honoring her Halmiani's memory in a restaurant where dangerous men ate dinner. A soft knock interrupted her spiraling thoughts. Come in, she called, expecting one of the household staff. Instead, Taehyun entered, carrying a tray with breakfast, Korean rice porridge, banchan side dishes, tea. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his usual crisp appearance rumpled. He'd been in meetings constantly since the revelation, coordinating with Park and various security personnel. I thought you might want company, he said quietly, setting the tray on the small table by the window. And an apology. For what? You didn't create this situation. No, but I pulled you deeper into it. He sat across from her, not touching his own food. That first night, I could have simply taken your contact information and had my assistant coordinate with you remotely. Instead, I personally drove you here, introduced you to more family members, made you visible to everyone watching our family. I made you a target. Maya wrapped her arms around herself. The target was already on me the moment that man approached me in the coffee shop.
You just didn't know it yet.
Maybe. Taehyun ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. But I should have been more careful. Should have protected you better. I'm not yours to protect, Maya said, more sharply than she intended. I'm not your responsibility, Taehyun. I'm just someone who accidentally walked into your world. He flinched at her tone. Is that what you think? That you're just collateral damage? Aren't I? Maya stood abruptly, pacing to the window. I came to Los Angeles to study, to build a life, to honor my Halmiani's legacy. Now I'm trapped in a gilded cage while men with guns decide if I'm trustworthy enough to release. My advisor has been calling, calls I can't return. My rent is due in a week. Money I can't access because I can't leave. My entire life is on hold because I spoke Korean to your father. I know, Taehyun said quietly. And I know you're angry. You have every right to be. I'm not just angry. Maya turned to face him, and she felt tears threatening.
I am sad.
Your family has been nothing but kind to me, but I don't know what happens next. Park looks at me like I'm a threat to be neutralized. The security team watches my every move. And you.
She stopped, swallowing hard.
Me? He stood, approaching carefully. What about me? I don't know if you see me as a person or a problem. I don't know if these past weeks, the conversations, the attention, the way you look at me sometimes, if any of it was real or just you managing a potential security risk. The hurt that flashed across Taehyun's face was unmistakable. You think I've been managing you? I don't know what to think anymore. Maya's voice broke. Everything feels calculated in your world. Everything has angles and implications. How am I supposed to know what's genuine? Taehyun closed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands cupped her face with surprising gentleness, forcing her to meet his eyes.
This
is genuine. The way I feel when you laugh at my terrible jokes. The way my heart speeds up when you switch into Gyeongsang dialect. The way I find excuses to be near you even when I should be handling a dozen other things. That's not management, Maya. That's me being completely undone by you. Maya's breath caught. I know the timing is terrible. I know you're trapped here, scared, angry, and you should be. But don't question whether what I feel for you is real. It's the most real thing in my life right now. His thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped down her cheek. And I promise you I will fix this. I will make sure you're safe and free, even if it means. The door burst open. Park Jin-woo stood in the doorway, his expression grave. We have a problem. Taehyun dropped his hands immediately, his body language shifting back to professional coldness. What is it? The Hwang group just made their move. Park held up his phone, showing a news headline. Kong Family Cultural Center. Money laundering front? Anonymous source claims Immigrant Heritage Project hides criminal enterprise. Maya's stomach dropped.
No.
There's more, Park continued grimly. The article specifically mentions that the Kong family recently hired an African-American consultant with no credentials in Korean culture, suggesting nepotism or bribery. They're using you to discredit the entire project, to make it look like a scam. But I have credentials, Maya protested. My research, my thesis, won't matter to public perception, Park said flatly. They're painting you as a token hire at best, a co-conspirator at worst. And they've timed it perfectly. University of California, Los Angeles' ethics board has already received an anonymous complaint suggesting you're accepting payments in exchange for providing academic legitimacy to a criminal organization. Maya felt the room spinning. This will destroy my academic career. No one will take my research seriously if I'm associated with money laundering allegations. The university could revoke my funding, dismiss me from the program. Which is exactly what they want, Taehyun said, his voice tight with controlled fury. They're attacking you to hurt us, using you as a weapon.
More than that, Park said.
Look at the byline. Maya read the name and felt ice flood her veins. The article was written by Jennifer Park, a prominent Korean-American journalist known for her investigative pieces on organized crime in immigrant communities. If someone as respected as Jennifer Park was reporting this, it would be taken seriously. Is she working with the Hwang group?
Taehyun demanded.
No, but they fed her the story through back channels, made it look credible. Park's expression was grim. And it gets worse. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has officially opened an investigation into the cultural center based on these allegations. They'll be here tomorrow with warrants. Dae-young appeared in the doorway behind Park, Min-seo at his side. The old man looked devastated. Maya, I am so sorry. I brought you into this world to help preserve something beautiful, and instead I've destroyed your future. No, Min-seo said firmly, though her eyes were wet with tears. We will fix this. We will clear Maya's name, restore her reputation.
How?
Maya's voice was hollow. Even if you prove the allegations are false, the association alone is damaging. No smoke without fire, people will say. My advisor, my committee, my peers, they'll always wonder, was she really innocent? Or did she get away with something? The silence that followed was suffocating. Taehyun looked between his father and Maya, his expression tortured. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. There's only one way to protect Maya completely. Everyone turned to him. We have to let her go, he continued, each word seeming to cost him. Publicly terminate her position. Issue a statement saying we discovered she misrepresented her qualifications. Distance ourselves completely. Make her the scapegoat. It's the only way to protect her from further retaliation.
No.
Dae-young protested. We don't abandon our people. She's not our people, father. Not really. She's an innocent bystander we pulled into our world. Taehyun's jaw was tight. If we cut ties now, publicly, completely, the Hwang group has no reason to keep targeting her. They got what they wanted, they discredited our project, and made us look foolish. Maya becomes yesterday's news. Maya stared at him, understanding the calculated logic even as it shattered something inside her. You want to throw me away to save face. I want to save you, Taehyun said, and the raw pain in his eyes made her believe him. Even if it means you'll hate me. Even if it means losing any chance of, he stopped, composed himself. Your safety and future matter more than our feelings. Park nodded slowly. It's the smart play. Brutal, but effective. No, Min-seo said firmly. There has to be another way. But Maya already knew there wasn't. Not one that wouldn't leave her tangled in their world for months or years, her reputation in tatters, her dreams of academic research destroyed. Taehyun was offering her an exit, painful as it was. She drew herself up, forcing strength into her voice. Do it. Issue your statement. Cut ties. I'll go back to my life and forget any of this happened. The lie tasted bitter. She would never forget. Not Taehyun's hands on her face. Not the way Dae-young had cried hearing his dialect. Not the feeling of belonging she'd found briefly in their world. But sometimes, survival meant walking away from the things that felt like home. Maya had been back in her tiny Koreatown apartment for 5 days when the knock came. 5 days of ignoring calls from her advisor demanding explanations. 5 days of seeing her name in online articles dissecting the Kong family scandal. 5 days of watching her carefully built academic reputation crumble like sandcastles at high tide. The Kong family's public statement had been brutal in its efficiency. Upon further investigation, we discovered Ms. Richardson misrepresented her qualifications and experience. Her employment has been terminated effective immediately. The Kong family maintains the highest standards of integrity in all our endeavors. It was designed to save her, she knew, to make her seem like a con artist who'd fooled them rather than a conspirator in their schemes. But it still hurt. Every word felt like a small death. She'd stopped checking her phone after the university placed her on academic probation pending an ethics review. Stopped going to campus after seeing the looks from other graduate students, curiosity, judgment, schadenfreude. Stopped pretending any of this would be okay. So when the knock came at 10 p.m., sharp and insistent, Maya considered not answering. She was done with the world. Done with complications. Done with, Maya, I know you're in there. It's Sujin. Please open the door. Maya froze.
Suhin?
What could the Kong daughter possibly want? To deliver another blow? To ensure Maya understood she was never to contact the family again? Against her better judgment, Maya opened the door. Sujin stood in the hallway looking nothing like the polished businesswoman Maya remembered. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore jeans and a leather jacket, and her eyes were fierce with determination. Thank God, Sujin breathed, pushing past Maya into the apartment. We need to talk.
Now.
I don't think that's a good idea, Maya said carefully. Your family made their position clear. My family made a tactical error, Sujin interrupted, and I'm here to fix it. She dropped a manila folder on Maya's tiny kitchen table. Everything you need is in here. Bank records, communication logs, photographs. Proof that the Huang Group has been orchestrating a campaign against our family for 18 months. Proof that they specifically targeted you. Maya, they knew about your connection to Mrs. Park, knew you'd get hired at the Gilded Lotus, knew you'd catch my father's attention. Maya sank into a chair, her mind reeling. How could they know all that? Because 3 months before you moved to Los Angeles, someone broke into the Korean Community Center in Atlanta, where Mrs. Park used to volunteer. They stole donor lists, volunteer records, personal correspondence. Your name was all over those files. Letters Mrs. Park wrote to the center about you, about how you were moving to Los Angeles to continue your studies, about how proud she was of you. The violation of that, someone rifling through her Halmianese memories, weaponizing their relationship, made Maya's stomach turn. Soo-jin continued, her voice urgent. The Huang Group built a profile on you, Maya. They knew you'd need work to support your studies. They had someone on the inside at the Gilded Lotus who recommended you for the position. They even had Huang Min-sik accidentally run into you at that coffee shop to plant seeds of curiosity about our family. You weren't a random factor. You were a carefully selected tool. Why are you telling me this? Maya's voice was hollow. Your family already cut ties. I'm already ruined. What difference does it make? Because it's not over, Soo-jin said intensely. The Huang Group is planning something bigger. They used you to discredit our cultural center, yes, but that was just the opening move. They're going after our entire community network, all the Korean businesses and families we've protected for decades. They want to take over that influence, and they're willing to destroy anyone in their path to do it. She pulled out another document. This is a list of people they're targeting next. Korean small business owners, community leaders, families who've relied on our protection. They're going to use the same playbook, manufacture scandals, feed stories to journalists, turn the community against itself. Dozens of innocent people will be destroyed. Maya looked at the list, saw names of business owners she recognized from her neighborhood. The Korean grandmother who ran the corner grocery. The family that owned her favorite restaurant. People who had nothing to do with the Kong family's complicated legacy, but would become collateral damage anyway. What do you want from me? Maya asked quietly. I want you to fight, Soo-jin said fiercely. Not for us, for yourself. For your reputation. For your Halmianese memory. And yes, for all these people who are about to become victims of a war they don't even know is happening.
How?
I have no power, no resources. You have something more valuable.
Soo-jin leaned forward.
You have credibility as a victim. You have an academic platform. And you have documentation. She tapped the folder. That proves you were targeted, manipulated, used. If you come forward with this evidence, if you tell your story publicly, you can expose the Huang Group's tactics before they use them on anyone else. Maya shook her head. That would make me an even bigger target. They'd come after me. They're already coming after you, Soo-jin interrupted. You think this ends with your academic career? Maya, they know you're smart. They know you could piece together what they did. You're a loose end, and the Huang Group doesn't leave loose ends untied. A chill ran down Maya's spine. Are you saying I'm in danger? I'm saying you have two choices. Hide and hope they forget about you, or stand up and fight back. Soo-jin's eyes softened slightly. For what it's worth, my family chose wrong. We should have protected you, stood beside you, used our resources to defend you publicly. Instead, we threw you away like you were expendable. My father hasn't slept in days from guilt. My mother cries every morning. And Tae-hyun. Don't, Maya said sharply. Don't tell me about Tae-hyun. He's been investigating the Huang Group obsessively, barely eating, working 18-hour days trying to find a way to fix what we broke. He assembled all this evidence. Soo-jin gestured to the folder. He told me to bring it to you, to give you the choice we should have given you from the beginning, fight or flight. But if you choose to fight, Maya, he wants you to know that this time, we'll fight beside you. No more throwing you to the wolves. No more protecting ourselves at your expense. Maya stared at the folder, her mind spinning. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to walk away, to protect what little remained of her peace and safety. But then she thought of her Halmiani, fierce, uncompromising Mrs. Park, who'd fled war and poverty and built a life through sheer determination, who'd taught Maya that some things were worth fighting for. If I do this, Maya said slowly, I need guarantees. Real ones. not promises that disappear when things get complicated. Name them. First, complete transparency. No more secrets, no more need-to-know information hierarchies. If I'm going to be a target, I deserve to know exactly what I'm up against.
Suhin nodded.
Agreed. Second, legal protection. Lawyers, security, whatever it takes. I won't be left vulnerable again. You'll have everything our family can provide. Third, Maya paused, her throat tight. If we do this, if I come forward and expose what the Huang group did, the university will have to clear me. My academic career can be saved. That's non-negotiable. Taehyun already has attorneys working on it. Once this evidence goes public, the university will have no choice but to lift your probation and clear your record.
Suhin smiled slightly.
My brother is very thorough when he's motivated. Maya took a shaky breath. Then I have one more condition. What is it? I do this my way. I'm not a pawn anymore, not for your family, not for the Huang group, not for anyone. I tell the truth as I see it, even if that truth makes your family uncomfortable. I'm not your PR tool or your redemption story. I'm a person who got caught in a war I didn't start, and I'm going to end it on my terms. Sujin extended her hand, her smile genuine now. Welcome to the fight, Maya Richardson. Something tells me the Huang group has no idea what they've unleashed. As they shook hands, Maya felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, the anger too. But underneath it all was something fiercer, determination. She'd been knocked down, discredited, nearly destroyed. Now it was time to get back up. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. at the Korean American Community Center in downtown Los Angeles. Maya had chosen the location deliberately, neutral ground, symbolic of the community the Huang group was threatening, and public enough that any retaliation would be witnessed. She stood backstage now, reviewing her notes one final time. The evidence Sujin had provided was devastating. Bank transfers showing payments to the journalist who'd written the hit piece, surveillance photos of Huang operatives watching the Kong estate, email chains discussing how to neutralize the cultural center project, and most damning, recordings of Huang Minsik bragging about how easily he'd manipulated the black girl. That last part still made her blood boil. 5 minutes, a staff member called out. Maya looked up to find Taehyun standing in the doorway. This was the first time she'd seen him since leaving the estate. He looked thinner, exhausted, but his eyes held the same intensity that had drawn her from the beginning. You don't have to do this, he said quietly approaching. Even now, we could find another way. Keep you safe without putting you in the spotlight. Yes, I do have to do this, Maya replied. Not just for me, for everyone they'll target next. You know that. He nodded slowly. I know. It doesn't mean I have to putting you in danger. He paused, seeming to wrestle with words. Maya, I need to say something before you go out there. That day when I suggested we cut ties. You were trying to protect me. I understand that now. No, let me finish. He stepped closer. I made a choice out of fear. Fear of losing you to this world. Fear that associating with us would destroy you. But in trying to protect you, I took away your agency, your choice. I decided what was best for you, without asking what you wanted. And that was wrong. Maya felt tears threatening. I should have trusted you to make your own decisions. Should have stood beside you and let you choose your own path, even if that path led through fire. His hand reached up, hesitating, then gently cupped her cheek.
I'm sorry.
For all of it. And whatever happens after today, whatever you decide about us, about this world, I'll respect your choice. Even if that choice is to walk away and never look back. 2 minutes, the staff member called. Maya covered his hand with hers, allowing herself this moment of connection before the storm. Ask me again after this is over. When I'm not standing in front of cameras and my heart isn't trying to beat out of my chest. Ask me then what I choose. A smile flickered across his exhausted face. It's a promise. He stepped back as Sujin appeared, along with Dae-young and Min Seo. The elder Kangs approached Maya with reverence. You honor us by fighting, Dae-young said in Gyeongsang dialect. Your Helmione would be proud. Min Seo pressed something into Maya's hand, a small jade pendant on a silver chain. This belonged to my mother. In our culture, jade protects against evil and brings clarity of purpose. Wear it today, and know that you carry our hearts with you. Maya's fingers closed around the warm stone, emotion threatening to overwhelm her composure. Thank you. All of you. 1 minute. Maya walked to the stage entrance, her notes clutched in one hand, the jade pendant now around her neck. She could hear the murmur of the crowd, journalists, community members, curious onlookers. Cameras were positioned throughout the room. This would be live-streamed, recorded, analyzed. No pressure. She stepped onto the stage. The room quieted immediately. Maya approached the microphone, looked out at the sea of faces, and saw them, Korean business owners she recognized from her neighborhood, sitting together in the third row. They'd come to hear her story, to understand what threatened them. That gave her courage. Good afternoon, she began, her voice steady. My name is Maya Richardson, and 3 weeks ago, I was publicly accused of fraud, academic misconduct, and conspiracy in a money laundering scheme. Today, I'm here to tell you the truth about those accusations and about the people who manufactured them. She told her story methodically, starting with Mrs. Park, explaining how their relationship had led to her fluency in Gyeongsang dialect. She described the job at the Gilded Lotus, the fateful dinner with the Kong family, the cultural consultant position that had seemed like a dream opportunity. Then she revealed the manipulation, the stolen records from Atlanta, the planted employee recommendation, the staged coffee shop meeting with Hwang Min-sik. She presented the evidence, explaining how the Hwang group had constructed an elaborate scheme to discredit the Kong family's cultural center. But this isn't really about me, Maya continued, her voice gaining strength. I was simply a convenient tool. The Hwang organization's goal is much larger. They want to destabilize the Korean-American community's existing support structures so they can seize control themselves. I'm showing you their playbook. The lies, the manufactured scandals, the media manipulation. They used these tactics on me, and they're planning to use them on dozens of others. She held up the target list. These are real people, real families, real businesses that serve our community. And they're all scheduled to be destroyed through the same methods used against me, unless we expose what's happening right now. The room erupted, journalists shouting questions, cameras flashing. But Maya wasn't finished. I'm also here to address the Kong family's role in this. She looked directly at the camera she knew was focused on her. The Kong family has a complicated history. They operate in gray areas that make many people uncomfortable. But their cultural center project is legitimate. I've seen the plans, reviewed the funding, examined their intentions. They're genuinely trying to preserve Korean heritage and give back to the community that supported them. She paused, letting that sink in. The Kong family made mistakes in how they handled my situation. They chose self-protection over standing beside someone they'd brought into their world. They've acknowledged those mistakes and are working to make amends. I'm not here to defend everything they've done, but I am here to separate fact from fiction, truth from manufactured scandal. Maya pulled out her final piece of evidence, the recording of Hwang Min-sik. I'm going to play you something now. It's not pleasant, but it's necessary. This is Hwang Min-sik speaking to his associates about their operation. His voice filled the room, dripping with contempt. The black girl was perfect, desperate for money, naive enough to trust, and ethnic enough that people would believe she was just trying to exploit the Korean community. We played her like a violin. The reaction was immediate and visceral. Gasps, angry murmurs, the sharp sound of people standing up. Maya saw the Korean business owners in the third row with tears in their eyes, understanding now that they were looking at their own potential future. This is what we're up against, Maya said firmly. Not just lies and manipulation, but people who view others as tools to be used and discarded. People who would destroy innocent lives for power and profit. She gripped the podium, her voice ringing clear. I'm filing a defamation lawsuit against the Hwang organization today. I'm demanding a full investigation into their operations. And I'm asking this community to stand together, to refuse to let fear and manufactured scandals tear apart the support systems we've built. We're stronger than their tactics. We're better than their methods. And we will not be divided. The room exploded into applause. Journalists surged forward with questions. But Maya's eyes found Taehyun at the side of the stage, and the pride and wonder in his expression made every terrifying moment worth it. She'd done it. She'd fought back. And she'd won. 6 months later, Maya stood in the completed cultural center, watching sunlight stream through the traditional Korean windows and paint patterns across the polished wooden floors. The space was breathtaking, a perfect fusion of old and new, with exhibition halls dedicated to Korean regional dialects, immigration history, and traditional arts. But her favorite room was the small library at the center's heart, where recordings of native speakers from different Korean provinces played softly. Visitors could sit in comfortable chairs, close their eyes, and hear the voices of elders speaking dialects that were vanishing from the world. Mrs. Park's voice was among them, recordings Maya had made during their language lessons, now preserved forever.
깜짝이야.
What a surprise! The exclamation came from behind her in perfect Gyeongsang dialect. Maya turned to find an elderly woman standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her weathered face. "I haven't heard my mother's dialect in 40 years, the woman said, switching to English. "I thought I'd forgotten what it sounded like, but hearing it now." She pressed her hand to her heart. "It's like she's here with me again." This happened daily, community members discovering pieces of their history they'd thought were lost. Second and third generation Korean Americans connecting with their roots. Academics traveling from across the country to study the center's dialect preservation project. Maya's thesis on linguistic memory had evolved into something far more comprehensive, informed by her work here. University of California, Los Angeles had not only lifted her academic probation but had featured her research in their departmental newsletter. The scandal that had nearly destroyed her had instead become a powerful testament to academic integrity and community advocacy. The lawsuit against the Hwang organization had been settled quietly, a public apology to Maya, substantial financial compensation, and, most importantly, a federal investigation that had exposed years of racketeering and fraud. Several key Hwang operatives now faced criminal charges. The organization's influence in the Korean American community had collapsed like a house of cards. "Maya," Minasio's voice called from the exhibition hall. "The opening ceremony guests are starting to arrive." Today was the official grand opening of the Kong Family Korean Cultural Heritage Center. 6 months of intensive work, cataloging materials, training staff, developing programming, building community partnerships. Maya had poured her heart into every detail, determined to honor both Mrs. Park's memory and the second chance the Kong family had given her. She smoothed down her hanbok, a beautiful sage green traditional dress that Minasio had insisted on buying her. Maya had protested initially, but Minasio had been firm. "Your family now." Family wears hanbok for important occasions. Family. The word still made Maya's chest feel warm and tight simultaneously. In the main hall, guests were gathering, community leaders, academics, journalists, and dozens of Korean Americans whose stories would be featured in the center's ongoing oral history project. Maya spotted her mother in the crowd, looking proud and slightly overwhelmed. Sharon Richardson had flown in from Atlanta for the occasion, and Dae-young had treated her like visiting royalty. "Your mother has your same fierce spirit," he told Maya yesterday. "I see now where you learned to stand and fight." Sujin appeared at Maya's elbow, elegant in a deep blue hanbok. "Ready?" Father's about to start his speech. They moved to the front of the hall where the Kong family had assembled. Dae-young stood at the microphone, Minasio beside him, with their children arranged behind them. And there was Tae-hyun, devastating in traditional Korean formal wear, his eyes finding Maya's immediately. Things between them had been complicated. In the aftermath of the press conference, they'd taken things slowly. Dinners, long conversations, stolen moments between Maya's academic work and Tae-hyun's business obligations. He'd courted her properly, as Minasio insisted, treating her like someone precious rather than another problem to be managed. 2 weeks ago, he'd asked her to be his girlfriend officially. They'd been sitting in this very library, surrounded by the voices of the past, when he'd taken her hand and said, "I know my world is complicated. I know being with me means dealing with security concerns and family drama and scrutiny. But Maya, you've become essential to me. Not because you're useful or convenient, but because you're you, brilliant, fierce, compassionate, real. I'm asking if you'll take a chance on us. On me." She'd said yes, without hesitation. Now, as Dae-young began his speech in Korean, Maya listened with the fluency that had started everything. He spoke about heritage and memory, about the importance of preserving culture across generations, about how sometimes the most unexpected people become the guardians of tradition. This center exists because of one remarkable young woman, Dae-young said, switching to Gyeongsang dialect. She came into our lives speaking the language of our childhood, carrying the memory of a woman who believed that culture transcends skin color, that heritage belongs to anyone willing to honor and preserve it. Maya Richardson taught us that family isn't just blood, it's love, commitment, and shared purpose. He gestured for Maya to join him at the microphone. Heart pounding, she stepped forward. I want to tell you about my Halmiani, Maya began in Gyeongsang dialect, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. Park Soon-ja came to America with nothing but her memories and her language. She could have let those memories fade, could have assimilated completely, could have let her dialect die with her generation. Instead, she chose to share them with a curious little black girl who knocked on her door one afternoon. Maya's eyes found her mother in the crowd, saw tears on her cheeks. My Halmiani taught me that the most powerful act of love is remembering. Remembering stories, remembering languages, remembering the people who came before us. This center is built on that foundation, on the belief that memory is sacred, that culture is meant to be shared, and that heritage belongs to everyone willing to protect it. She switched to English. When I started this journey, I was just trying to honor a promise to someone I loved. I had no idea it would lead here, to this beautiful space, to this incredible community, to this family. She glanced at the Kangs, who showed me that sometimes the most meaningful connections form in the most unexpected ways. Tae-hyun was smiling at her, and the warmth in his eyes made her heart skip. So thank you, Maya concluded. Thank you for trusting me with your stories, your memories, your heritage. Thank you for teaching me that belonging isn't about where you come from, it's about what you choose to protect and preserve. And thank you, Halmiani. She touched the jade pendant she still wore, for believing that a little girl could carry your voice into the future. The applause was thunderous. People stood, wiping tears, calling out encouragement in Korean and English. Maya felt arms around her, Mineso hugging her tightly, Sujin squeezing her hand, Dae-young's gentle pat on her shoulder. And then Tae-hyun was there, pulling her slightly away from the crowd, his hands warm on her arms. You're extraordinary, he said quietly. Do you know that? I'm just a graduate student who got really lucky, Maya replied, smiling.
No.
You're a woman who turned tragedy into triumph, who fought back when the world tried to break you, who built something beautiful from the ashes of a scandal. His thumb traced her cheekbone gently. You're the bravest person I know. Careful, Maya teased. Compliments like that might go to my head. Good. Your head deserves to be full of accurate assessments of your worth. He glanced around, then lowered his voice. My mother is already planning our wedding, you know. She showed me fabric samples yesterday. Maya laughed, the sound bright and free. We've been officially dating for 2 weeks. In my mother's mind, that's practically engaged. Fair warning, she's very persuasive. I'll take my chances. Maya leaned into him slightly, allowing herself this moment of peace and joy. Besides, I've gotten pretty good at handling your family. That you have. Taehyun's expression grew serious. Maya, I know we're taking this slowly, and I respect that. But I need you to know, I'm in this completely. Whatever comes next, whatever challenges we face, I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. Promise. Maya asked softly. Promise. You taught me that some things are worth fighting for, worth standing beside even when it's difficult. You're one of those things. You'll always be one of those things. From across the room, Maya's mother caught her eye and smiled knowingly. The Kong family was mingling with guests, Dae-young's laughter booming as he shared stories with community elders. Through the windows, the California sun painted everything in shades of gold. Maya thought about the journey that had brought her here, from a little girl learning Korean in a neighbor's kitchen to a woman standing in a cultural center she'd helped create. From grief and loss to love and belonging. From being used as a weapon to becoming a force for good. Mrs. Park had told her once that the ancestors don't care about skin color, they only care about who remembers them. Looking around this space, filled with voices and memories and stories preserved for future generations, Maya knew she'd kept her promise. She'd remembered. And in remembering, she'd built something that would outlast them all. What bridges have you built between different worlds in your own life? How have unexpected connections changed your path? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear how you've created belonging. Backhand index pointing down.